You know that feeling when you're coding?
Yeah.
You're really in the zone, tackling something interesting, and then wham,
Yeah.
you get pulled into some like routine task,
Mm.
something that just kills your focus
Absolutely. We all wish we could just stick to the juicy bits.
and spend less time on the grunt work, right?
Right. That's the classic tension, isn't it? Creativity versus the necessary grind.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're looking at today.
Exactly, because GitHub, well, they've just released something new that seems aimed right at this problem.
Hmm.
A coding agent for GitHub Copilot. Think of it maybe as a new kind of teammate.
A digital one, yeah. Geared specifically to handle certain tasks and hopefully free you up.
So our mission for this deep dive is, well, to really get under the hood. What is this agent? How does it work?
And crucially, why should you care? What could it actually mean for your day-to-day coding? We're basing this all on GitHub's own info, so it's straight from the source.
Okay, let's dive in then. What exactly is this coding agent?
So at its core, it's a new capability that's woven directly into the GitHub platform itself.
Okay, so not a separate tool you have to install or anything.
Nope, fully integrated. And the key thing is how you activate it.
Right.
It kicks in either when you assign a GitHub issue directly to Copilot.
Like you would assign it to a human colleague.
Exactly like that. Or you can prompt it directly from within VS Code using, natural language.
So it feels like having this on-demand assistant right where you're already working.
Precisely. And what it does then is pretty smart. When it gets activated, it spins up a secure development environment just for that task.
Okay.
And importantly, it's customizable. This environment runs on GitHub Actions.
Ah, okay, so using infrastructure that many people might already be familiar with for CI/CD.
That's right. Leveraging that same tech to create these sort of temporary, isolated workspaces as needed.
Interesting. Okay, so that's how does it actually do stuff? What's the process look like?
Right. So imagine you've got a bug report or maybe a small feature request in a GitHub issue.
Yep.
You can assign that issue to Copilot. You can do this on the website, github.com, or the mobile app, or even the command line interface, the CLI.
So lots of ways to trigger it. Fits into existing workflows.
Designed to. Assign it just like you would to anyone else.
And then what happens? Does it just start coding?
Well, first it gives you a little signal. You'll see an emoji, the eyes emoji, pop up on the issue.
Ah, like I'm looking at it.
Exactly. It's saying, got it, I'm on it. Then, in the background, the real work starts. It fires up a virtual machine,
Okay.
clones your repository into this private space, figures out the environment setup, gets dependencies,
The usual setup stuff.
right? And then it starts analyzing the code base to understand the context of the issue.
How does it understand the code? That seems like the hard part.
It uses a technique called Retrieval Augmented Generation, RAG.
Reg. Okay.
Yeah. And this is powered by GitHub's own code search capabilities. So think of it as intelligently searching your code, pulling out the relevant bits to understand what's needed for this specific issue.
So it's not just guessing, it's actually looking at your code.
Exactly. Grounding its approach in the reality of your project. And it doesn't just work silently in a black box.
Good. Transparency is key.
Definitely. The agent proactively pushes its code commits to a draft pull request.
A draft PR. Okay. So you can see the work as it progresses.
Yep, you see the code it's writing. And it also updates the description of that pull request,
Explaining what it did.
explaining its reasoning, the steps it took. And if you want even more detail, you can actually look at session logs.
Wow. Okay. That's pretty transparent.
Yeah, they seem to have prioritized that. And there's another piece here called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP.
MCP. What's that?
Think of it like a secure way for Copilot to access more than just your code.
Like what?
Well, things like project documentation, maybe internal tooling guides, other approved resources. GitHub provides an official MCP server to help manage this securely.
So it can pull in relevant info beyond just the code files themselves? That could be powerful.
It really could, and it gets even more interesting. It's not just text.
Yeah.
The agent uses vision models. It can actually see images attached to GitHub issues.
You mean like screenshots?
Well-
Or mock-ups?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Screenshots of bugs, UI mockups for new features. The agent can process that visual information too.
Whoa, okay, that's actually a pretty big deal, especially for UI work or visual bugs.
It is. And feedback works how you'd expect. Once the agent opens that draft PR,
You just comment on it like any other PR?
precisely, leave comments, ask for changes, suggest refinements. The agent processes that feedback and updates the PR.
So it iterates.
It iterates.
Yeah.
And it also considers context from, say, related discussions and other issues or PRs, and even repository-specific instructions you might have set up.
Okay, so it's learning and adapting based on the whole context, including feedback, very much like a human teammate.
That seems to be the goal,
Yeah.
which naturally leads us to, well, security and how this actually fits into a team's workflow.
Yeah, security is always the first question with something like this. What have they put in place?
They've clearly thought about it. So first off, the agent can only push code to branches it creates.
Ah, okay, so can't accidentally mess with main or other important branches.
Right. And critically, the person who asks the agent to do the work cannot be the one to approve the resulting pull request.
Oh, interesting. So it enforces that separation of duties,
Yeah.
respects required reviews.
Exactly. It honors those rules you likely already have. What about accessing stuff outside the repo?
Good question. Internet access.
It's limited. By default, it can only reach a specific list of trusted external destinations, and organizations can customize that list.
So you control where it can potentially reach out to.
Yes. And, maybe most importantly, for workflow integration, GitHub Actions. If the agent's work triggers a workflow.
Like a CI build or deployment.
Yeah. Those workflows don't run automatically. They require explicit manual approval from a human first.
Okay, so there's always a human checkpoint before anything potentially risky happens downstream.
Always a human gatekeeper. And it's worth repeating. All your existing repository rule sets, your organization policies, they all still apply. The agent operates within that existing framework.
It doesn't bypass your governance.
Correct. And workflow-wise, it uses pull requests, integrates with your CI/CD. It's meant to slot into how you already work, not force a whole new process.
Doesn't sound sensible.
Yeah.
Enhance, don't replace. So what kind of tasks is this thing really good at? What's its sweet spot?
According to GitHub, it shines on tasks that are, let's say, low to medium complexity,
Okay.
especially in code bases that are already well tested. Think about things like adding relatively simple features, fixing pretty well-defined bugs.
Stuff where the scope is reasonably clear.
Exactly. Expanding existing test suites, doing some code refactoring for clarity or performance, improving documentation, the kind of tasks that are necessary.
But maybe not the most exciting part of the job.
Precisely. Those tasks that can be time-consuming but maybe aren't the big creative challenge developers crave. It's designed to handle that kind of work.
Right? Freeing you up for the harder problems.
Yeah.
Makes total sense. Like delegating the chores.
That's a good way to put it. And we actually have some perspectives from folks using this in the real world.
Oh, yeah. What are they saying?
Well, James Zadinsky, who leads developer experience at EY, talks about seeing this as enabling agent-driven teams working alongside human devs.
Agent-driven teams.
Yeah.
Interesting phrase.
Yeah. He sees it amplifying what the team can do, letting developers focus on the higher value, more strategic work. Imagine having that extra capacity.
So it's about making the whole team more productive, not replacing anyone.
That's the idea. And Alex Devkar over at Carvana, he's the SVP of Engineering and Analytics, he talks about increased velocity.
Faster development cycles.
Yeah, he thinks an agent like this can turn specs into working code faster, which again frees up his team for the higher level creative stuff like architectural design.
Both those quotes really nail the core idea, don't they? Freeing up humans for the complex creative thinking. It's almost like giving every developer their own assistant for certain tasks.
It potentially reframes the developer role a bit. More architect, more high-level problem solver, less getting stuck in the weeds of every single implementation detail.
Okay, this sounds genuinely useful. Who can actually use it right now? And,
Yeah.
What's the cost situation?
Right now, it's available for users on GitHub Copilot Enterprise plans and also Copilot Pro Plus subscriptions.
So the premium tiers.
Yes. And getting started involves a couple of steps. Individual developers need to specifically enable the agent in the repositories where they want to use it.
Okay, opt-in per repo.
And for enterprise users, an administrator also has to enable a policy at the organization level to allow its use.
Got it. Needs buy-in at both levels for enterprise. What about IDEs? Is it just VS Code?
It started closely tied to VS Code, but they've expanded support significantly.
Good.
You can now use agent mode in Xcode, Eclipse, the JetBrains IDEs, and also the full Visual Studio.
Oh, wow. Okay, that covers a lot more ground. Good for teams with mixed environments.
Definitely makes it more accessible. Now, you mentioned cost. There is an upcoming change to be aware of.
Okay.
Starting June 4th, 2025, so a little ways off, the way usage is counted will change slightly.
How so?
Each request the agent makes to the underlying AI models will count as one premium request against your Copilot subscription allowance.
Ah, okay. So consumption-based pricing kicks in for the agent's model calls next year. Good to know for planning.
Exactly. Something to keep in mind as adoption grows.
So, stepping back, looking at the big picture, how does this new agent fit into the overall GitHub Copilot story? What's the grand vision here?
Well, the core mission of Copilot from the start has always been about keeping developers in that flow state.
Yeah, that zone where you're just super productive and focused.
Exactly. Minimizing disruptions, making coding feel more seamless. This agent is, I think, a pretty major extension of that idea.
How so?
By actually taking entire tasks off your plate, those routine but necessary ones, it aims to reduce those interruptions even further. It frees up more of your mental bandwidth for the really hard, really creative problems.
It's like another layer of assistance. First, it was suggesting lines of code, then helping with chat. Now it's automating whole chunks of work.
Right. It's all geared towards handling the parts of the job you might prefer not to do, so you can focus on the innovation, the problem solving, the reasons you likely got into this field.
Yeah, the fun stuff.
Basically, yeah.
So to wrap it up, this new coding agent is really about making development smoother by automating some of those less complex tasks, all within the secure GitHub environment you're already using.
Powered by GitHub Actions, integrated into your workflow, aiming to let you focus on what matters most.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How could a tool like this change your day-to-day? Imagine offloading some of those tasks. What could you build? What problems could you solve with that extra time and focus?
It's definitely a fascinating glimpse into where software development might be heading, with AI acting more like a true collaborator.
What could that magical flow state really look like when you have this kind of intelligent help handling some of the load? Something to ponder.